The embodiment of nature itself, taking all it has to give and giving as much as possible back, turning into animals or using animals to your advantage and harnessing the power of lightning and earth. If this sounds like fun to you, then you're in the right place. Ladies, gentlemen, and Haradrim of all ages, with the release of Diablo 4 approaching extremely quickly, there is one extremely important, undeniably major decision that you will have to make, and, well, quite quickly as well. Which class do you want to play in Diablo 4? Of course, if you're like me, you want to play all of them, and given enough time, enough months of playing, you'll probably accomplish that goal. But what about which one you play first? Which one is your top choice, the one that simply draws you in the most? Every class is a solid option, they all live up to their class fantasies in interesting ways, but which one suits you the most for your first character? Today we're going to talk about the Druid, breaking it down, its class fantasy, its more unique mechanics, the cooler skills, and some generic build concepts that will likely be the core of your gameplay as you progress towards the later stages of the game. First off then, what exactly is the Druid in Diablo 4? Well, anyone who started their journey with the series in Diablo 3 will have no real idea, at least as far as how a druid works in Diablo itself. Druids are the class most in tune with nature. They use natural magic to their advantage, and they can also shapeshift into various forms. This time around specifically, those forms are werewolf and werebear, the former being obvious, the latter being pretty predictably just a giant bear on two legs, and personally, this is my absolute favorite thing. I love bears as an animal, and the idea of just being able to play as a giant werebear really speaks to me. And here's an important thing to mention about the Druid. From our experiences in the beta and in the server slam, Druid felt a bit weaker than the other classes, but from everything that the devs have said, this is simply an early game issue, with Druid getting a lot stronger as the game goes on, just because of how it works mechanically. That said, from the legendaries that I've seen, and we've only really seen a fraction of what will be available in the full game, Druid will be able to build in a way that focuses on storm magic, a way that focuses on earth magic, or a way that blends both of these together. It will be able to play in a way that focuses on the werewolf mode, the shapeshift, focus on the werebear shapeshift mode, or, again, blends those together, and benefits the general concepts of shapeshifting as a whole. On top of that, there are also animal companions. We have 3 choices of companion for the Druid, some wolves that will follow you around forever, some ravens that will only appear occasionally, and a poison creeper, which is a little plant buddy that occasionally pops up to poison your foes. All of these are unique ways to play, and of course there will also be ways to play that literally play off of every single one of these aspects of the Druid put together. Now let's take a moment to talk about a pretty unique mechanic for Druid, which is the Spirit Boon system. In general combat, you will notice that as you kill things, you collect an item called Spirit Offerings. No other class will get these, they are a bonus drop. At level 15, you'll get a quest that unlocks the Spirit Boon system, which is where you spend your Spirit Offerings, and in return, you receive permanent, powerful buffs. This system wasn't really part of the betas or the server slam at all, and that is theoretically a big part of why Druids have felt just a little bit off in these testing periods, as obviously a whole line of permanent buffs and effects could have quite the major impact on your gameplay experience as a whole. The Spirit Boons will have 4 paths available in the form of Stag, Bird, Wolf, or Snake, and you can only activate one of these paths at a time, each with their own bonuses. But once you have at least unlocked each boon once, you will unlock the Spirit Bond mechanic, which lets you choose one boon that is not on your currently active path to have active at the same time for even more power and more customization of how you want to play in particular. In earlier beta periods for the game, Druid also had a mechanic called Crushing Blow, which was a lucky hit chance for any earth spell to deal health percentage damage to enemies, which obviously is pretty massive. That would be really strong, but this was removed for the public betas and also for Server Slam. As a result of that, at this point, it is looking unlikely that we will have Crushing Blow in the full game unless it has something to do with the Spirit Boon system, perhaps being tied to one of the 4 available paths.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
As far as more interesting mechanics that are Druid specific, there are a couple that it shares with other classes but has its own interesting mechanics to deal with, such as Overpower and Fortify together. Fortify is the effect that essentially gives you a partial shield on top of your health, blocking a percentage of damage taken when you have fortified health, and essentially acting as bonus health while it's active. Druid has a lot of ways to apply Fortify to itself. In fact, one of the builds that I played around with in the beta was capable of reaching 100% health Fortify pretty frequently, which was really cool on its own, but especially because of the way that that interacts with Overpower. Overpower is a mechanic that has a very low percent chance to happen on any attack, dealing a set amount of bonus damage, but also dealing bonus damage in relation to the amount of Fortify that you have at the time. Meaning if you have a ton of health fortified, an Overpower hit is just nasty strong. Normally this would just be sort of okay, way, as again, overpower is a really low chance to happen by default, but Druid has a couple of specific ways to force overpower to happen. One of which being a skill enhancement for Pulverize, which makes it so every 12 seconds that you remain over 80% health, you get a guaranteed overpower on this skill. That may sound like a difficult thing to pull off, but Fortify is specifically great for keeping you at high health, making this not only super tanky, but the forced overpower makes it do quite a lot of damage too. On top of this, Druid also has a passive that makes it so when they stay in Werebear form long enough, their next skill will be a guaranteed overpower. This lets Druid play in a specific way that uses both Fortify and Overpower together in a way that other classes just don't get to do at all, even though they are mechanics that are available to all of the classes. With that said then, let's dive into some of the builds that you may well be playing if you choose Druid, so that you can get an idea of what it will feel like to play a Druid in Diablo 4 in the long run. The first one, and the most powerful one that I've experienced myself so far, at least in the betas and the server slam, is the Companion build. Just all in on Companion skills, one basic skill for spirit generation, and then Landslide, which is a nice high damage spirit spending ability. The Landslide skill also has a unique effect if you take the right enchantments that creates Terramotes, and it makes it essentially build up forced critical hits as you fight enemies, which makes it so the more that you fight smaller enemies, the more you'll have saved up to just nuke down a boss, which makes it really quite cool as a sort of pendulum style playstyle. In some situations, it's sort of weak, but once you've stocked up some Terramotes, it gets extremely strong. More than that though, the companions themselves do a lot of damage, and this build just has all of them on your bar together, all doing their own thing, just constantly just controlling the battlefield around you. Another build that I messed with a fair amount personally was just full-on Werebear mode. The Werebear basic skill pulverizes a spender, the Werebear ultimate, and then a general focus on Fortify and Overpower, as this is the build that lines up with those mechanics properly. Past that, there was also a mostly werewolf build that a lot of people seem to enjoy, very highly mobile, very fast attack speed, and it focuses a lot on critical hits to get frequent big numbers, and also applies some damage over time effects too, as there are a fair amount of poisons that you can apply as a druid. Then finally, a sort of mixed earth and storm magic build. In the beta, specifically in the server slam, we weren't quite able to reach the key passives for druid, which clearly are a big deal for the class, boosting each playstyle significantly, but storm and earth magic mixed was the playstyle that lets druid be pretty much just ranged rather than relying on melee attacks, and it wasn't too great in the betas, but theoretically, not only the key passives, but these spirit boons as well could make a lot of difference for that. A big thing to keep in mind for Druid is that while it was generally regarded as the weakest class power-wise in the betas and server slam, it was also arguably missing the most of any class. Not having its spirit boon system as a whole was a massive detriment. Barbarian also didn't get their full secondary mechanic, but they still had access to a good 80% of the arsenal system. Druid, however, just straight up didn't get to play around with spirit boons in the slightest. On top of that, once you started to get some legendaries flowing, the Druid actually started to feel significantly more powerful and even surpass some other classes, again, even without the spirit boons. In the betas and server slam, we didn't have anywhere close to the full list of legendary effects either that we will have in the full game, not to mention sacred and unique items which will come with even more effects. In the end, I expect Druid to perform very well in the full game, and quite likely have even more builds at its disposal than I've even mentioned here. Druid has the most visual change between its various builds, which I love, and if you like that, this class will probably be great for you. It also has some of the larger gameplay differences between its various builds, so if you like a good bit of variety, but want that variety inside of a single class, then Druid is probably a great choice for you as well. If you want to be a big bear or a big wolf, or even swap between the two at will, then Druid is a great choice for you. Hell, if any of what I've been talking about today sounds nice to you, then you'll probably enjoy this class. I know I did, and again, I didn't even have the full class available to me when I played it. And that's it really. Druid in Diablo 4 is a master of varying playstyles, a pile of variety in a singular form, even though it can turn into multiple forms. It has the ability to turn into an extremely ridiculously tanky melee fighter, or a ranged magic user, and pretty much everything in between those two. If it sounds like something that gels with what you want to do in Diablo 4, then maybe this is the class that you've been looking for. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope it's helped you with the biggest decision you'll have to make in the early weeks of Diablo 4, but if you are still feeling a little bit indecisive, we are releasing a video like this for every class in the game to help you make your choice, so go have a look for those. Like if you liked the video, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.